Well, hey everybody, and welcome to This Week with Mr. John. Hey, I'm back in my office. I couldn't do green screen because, of course, I wear a green shirt, so it would have just been a big floating head in whatever background I had. So I decided I would come back to my office. Maybe we'll break out the green screen next week. So, hey, I want to tell you, we've been working this month. We have been talking about stories, page turning stories that get you excited when you open up the Bible and you start reading it. Well, today we're going to talk about one of probably the one story that I think we've all heard before. We talk about it all the time in kids ministry, and we talk about it in youth ministry, and we talk about it in adult ministry. This is the story of the prodigal son. This is the story of the two brothers. We have come to know this story over years as it's been taught to us as a father who owns this big land of property. He has lots of servants, he has lots of animals, and this farm or this ranch that this guy owns is huge and is worth a lot of money. Now he's got two sons. There's a younger son and an older son. The younger son is more of not the farming type. You know, he does not see himself as a farmer. He sees himself maybe as a guy, a city guy, maybe a guy who should be living the life in the city. And so he wants to live that life, and he feels kind of maybe trapped in living on the farm. And so he goes to his dad and says, "Hey, Dad, I would love for me to get my inheritance now. I don't want to wait. You know, I really don't think it's a good idea that we should wait till you die to get my inheritance, because that's how they normally did it. The parent had to pass away, and then what he would do is split his inheritance to his sons or his family. And so he didn't want to wait until that moment. He wanted to get his inheritance now. Well, Dad loved his son, and so he agrees, and he goes ahead and he gives half of everything he owns to the younger son. Now, the younger son, like we said, he didn't want to be a farmer, so hey, he did not stick around. He decided that he was going to go live the high life someplace else. So he goes to the big city and he starts spending his money. Things aren't as cheap as they are, where he used to live. It's a little bit more expensive, but he's doing okay. As time goes on, he continues to spend and spend, and one day he reaches into the old wallet and he notices it. There's nothing in it anymore. He's run out of money. Now, what does he do? He'll be fine. He can get a job, right? He can just get a job and everything will work out, right? Well, just so happens that in the time when he started losing his money, a big famine started to hit, a drought hit and a famine. And we know that a famine is kind of when all the resources that you would use to eat starts to dry up and becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. And there's a lot of people that need a little bit of that there's only a little bit of food for. So this famine, people are just starving to death because they can't get enough to eat, and jobs kind of dry up in that moment too. And so he can't find a job. He decides that he's going to look and look and look and look and look and try to find a job, and finally he finds a job. He has to basically work with pigs. Not only does he work with the pigs, he kind of lives with the pigs. And what I mean by live with the pigs, he sleeps in the pigsty. And listen, he's working on this farm, but he's really not eating well. Even the farmer can't pay him, and they would throw slop out for the pigs, and the younger son would look at the food and go, "Well, it's way more than I'm eating. Oh, maybe I could have some of that slop." It was so bad that this guy was willing to eat pig slop. So he realizes that his situation has gotten truly, truly desperate, truly bad. So he thinks and thinks and thinks, and he comes up with this idea. Maybe I could go back home. Maybe I'll go home and I will become a servant for my father. I will work on his land. He won't look at me as family anymore, but I will have food and I will have a place to stay. And so he sits there and makes the hard decision that he's going to go back home. Now, as a storyteller, this is where my mind goes crazy. On the way home, what is he thinking? Man, Dad is going to be super mad at me. He may not even take me home. Heck, he could beat me. He could send me away. He could just not even deal with me because he already gave me my inheritance. He could do this. And that walk had to be just one of the longest things ever, right? When we want to really get someplace, or when we really don't want to get someplace sometimes, and we're dreading what's going to happen, like you get in trouble and Dad's coming and you got to make that, your brain is going, what's he going to say? What's he going to do? And as his brain is doing all this thinking and trying to correlate what's going to happen, and then he comes over the hill and there's the farm. And he may have decided, I'm not going to do it. But it was too late. Dad has seen him. The father has seen him. And Dad, he takes off and he runs and he goes across the field. And how now, as your dad's running to you in this situation, what are you thinking now? Oh, I'm in big trouble now, right? So he sits there and Dad gets up to him and Dad goes like this, and he had to maybe cower a bit and go, whoa, what's going to happen? And Dad just throws his arms around him and gives him this huge hug, and he just embraces his son. And he looks back at the help, at the servants, and says, hey, grab the biggest bull, our best bull. We are going to have a feast tonight. We are going to celebrate my son. Well, remember I said there were two sons. There was the younger who took the inheritance and left. There was a second son, the younger son, or the older son. The faithful son, as we come to know in the story. And he goes up to Dad and goes, Dad, come on, man. Dad, he took his money. He left. He spent it. He basically just took off with his money, and that was it. I've been here. I've been faithful to you. I've stuck around and I have done everything you've asked of me. And the father, this blows my, as a storyteller again, this blows my mind. The father just probably gets this big grin on his face and just looks at his older son and goes, son, man, you don't understand here. Everything I own, everything I have, everything that's left, dude, it's yours. You'll get it. But you got to understand this. Your brother was gone. He was lost. He was dead. And now he's alive. Your brother was lost and now he is found. Guys, that story represents us in our faith journey, kind of, if we kind of look at it this way. This is how Jesus is telling this parable. It's our faith journey. There are parts of us that we don't know God, and we come to him, and there he is. He's ready to embrace us. But there are times in our lives, and let's skip the second one I was going to talk about. Let's go to the older brother. There's you're loyal and you're faithful in your faith, and you've always had that. And guys, the kingdom of heaven is yours. But then there's the guys that have faith, like the younger brother. He had faith at a time, and then maybe he left a bit and wandered away from God. But God says, listen, if you know me, you can always come back. If you love me, here I am. If you want to be with me, here I am, arms open, ready to embrace you. And that is such a great thing to know. that God is there for us. He is there. If we are steady and loyal, He is there, and the kingdom is ours. If we go astray, we can always come back, and the kingdom of heaven is ours. And if we don't know Him, we can come to believe in Him and know Him, and again, the kingdom is ours because God loves us that much. So guys, we're going to talk about the verse next week. Hey, Easter's coming. We're going to talk about some great things that happen up until some sad things, some great things, some very curious things that happen all leading up to Easter. So we're going to talk about that next week. Hey, we'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye.
2 Thessalonians 3:3. But the Lord is faithful, and He will strengthen you and protect you from the evil one.